Hey everybody, this is Zach from Tanuki Games, and today we're taking a look at Panzer Dragoon Orta for the original Xbox. Panzer Dragoon Orta was released in 2003, and this is the fourth game in the series. Personally, I haven't played any of the games before, and apparently you don't need a prior knowledge of the series to enjoy Panzer Dragoon Orta, so let's get into it. Panzer Dragoon Orta tells the story of a girl named Orta, and she is a prisoner and is rescued by this dragon, and then from there you fly off together, and mostly the story is very engaging, even though there's very little dialogue, and the story itself is fairly short, but it does have a lot of impact. The relationship between Orta and the dragon is really cool, and there's some moments in the game that are pretty transcendent. Gameplay-wise, Panzer Dragoon Orta is an on-rails shooter, and these games can be pretty divisive since you don't have very much control and it's a linear set level. There are some separating paths and things you can take, but what makes Panzer Dragoon Orta a little different is that you have 3 dragons that you can change between, and each of them have their own strengths and weaknesses and abilities, and it'll be up to you to figure out when it's appropriate to use what dragon, and without figuring this out, you're never going to beat the game. That's really the key tactic to the game, is figuring out when you need to use the base wing, which has no benefits or negatives, the heavy wing, which is offensive, and then the glide wing, which is very defensive. And this is a really great gameplay mechanic and is implemented very, very well. Visually speaking, the world of Panzer Dragoon Orta is quite unique. The dragons themselves have a feel to them that they're wearing some sort of bug-like armor. Also, as you level up each dragon, it actually changes the way they look, so it's a pretty cool idea. And then the bosses are really big, elaborate, and very distinct. Nothing feels vanilla about the game, and there's also a good deal of environmental variety in the game as well. You have your obligatory snow level and your obligatory water level, etc., but each one is done with so much care that you really can't say that any of it's phoned in. And then some of the more mechanical designed ones feel very fresh and unique, and then there's some really trippy levels as well towards the end of the game where you're kind of in this ancient computer and stuff. So the whole time it's always throwing something new at you, and you're going to be surprised. One of the major critiques that I've heard of Panzer Dragoon Orta is that of the difficulty. The game is hard. Even on normal, it's going to present a pretty good amount of challenge, and you're going to need a lot of understanding of how the gameplay mechanics work, and there's a pretty good tutorial to explain all that. Additionally, the final boss is tough as nails. I actually made a guide if you want to click on it, give it a look, and maybe it'll help you out towards the end. It's not impossible, and the game plays so well and is pretty fair, so once you figure out the patterning and stuff, you'll get it, but it's definitely not for the casual, and I've even heard complaints that the easy is still pretty challenging. The post-game features in Panzer Dragoon Orta are very deep. You have a bestiary, an encyclopedia, and some appendix and things like that to give you a better idea of the world, but then also you have extra missions that are about a boy from the Empire, and then after that you still get the original Panzer Dragoon game, which I have not played yet, but that's a super sweet feature, and it's just there for free. Any mode that you beat the game on, you can unlock it, or I have read that if you play the game for 20 hours, you'll unlock everything. So, plus concept art, and you've got a lot to do after the game is over. The soundtrack and sound design of Panzer Dragoon Orta is very sophisticated. The music has the very cool Near East vibe to it, with a lot of electronic beats added to it, so it has this really nice kind of pulsing rhythm to everything. The sound design itself, from the lasers to the monsters and everything, sounds very unique, and it all has a very nice, deep, heavy bass to everything. So if you can play your video games loud, or you play with headphones, you're going to enjoy hearing pretty much the entire game. Visually speaking, Panzer Dragoon Orta is astonishing for its age. From lighting to particle effects to the models for the characters, everything has a high level of detail and polish, and there were very few times that I saw any sort of frame rate drop, and I can only recall one offhand, and that was during a pretty busy boss fight, so it can be forgiven. This game is truly impressive for its age. Panzer Dragoon is a very impressive game that anybody who's interested in collecting for the original Xbox, this is a must-have. It's an essential game. It's visually impressive, it plays great, it's probably one of the best rail shooters you're ever gonna play. It's just a lot of fun, it's a treat. It took me about 2 days to beat the game, and then a third day to beat the final boss. This game is not cheap though. You're gonna look around the $15 to $20 range, but that is worth it for what you're getting out of the game. If you've played Panzer Dragoon Orta, what did you think of it? If you haven't played Panzer Dragoon Orta, how does it look to you? This is Zach from Tanuki Games. Thanks for watching, and enjoy!